a Motorsport Podcast Network production. Well, it's that time. It's annual. It's our third annual. Yes, that's annual. The Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour is on the horizon. It's time for our preview episode that we do every year. Richard Craill, the voice of the 12 Hour, is on the other end of the line. Richard, we said this was annual last year. It's very annual now this year. Welcome to you.
Hello, Aaron. Yes, if 2 is annual, 3 is definitely now tradition.
True.
I think this is now a pre-Bathurst 12-hour tradition that you and I get together and talk for an hour or so about Australia's international endurance race. And what an international endurance race we've got this year, by the way, mate. Isn't it an absolute belter?
There's major froth factor here.
There is.
One of my concerns in the last few years was the spread of cars. We were very German, weren't we? Audi, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche. But this year we've got a bit more flavour, a bit more variety, some more brands. I think we've ended up with 12 different manufacturers on the grid this year. Driving lineup solid. It's the best field since the last pre-COVID 2020 12 hours, surely.
Oh, yeah. And I think it ranks in the top 3 or 4 grids the race has ever assembled, I would argue. I think 2020, as good as the 2019 race was with that amazing finish and everything around it, I've always felt that 2020 was peak Bathurst 12 hour. We started that weekend with 39 cars. We eliminated a few via accidents in that crazy Saturday, but then the race started with 34 cars, and what we got was a really high quality race without massive numbers of safety car interruptions, but still with plenty of depth to put on an unbelievable show. And I think this year matches that grid, I would argue. So I think we're right there in terms of the depth of driver lineup, the number of combinations that could win the race, and the manufacturer input as well that's come into it, external to the brands that have already been supporting it for the last couple of years. So the other thing as well, I think, Noons, is that despite the fact the grids have been smaller, we haven't had a bad race since it came back. So the quality's still always been there, but now we're just doubling it or almost tripling it in terms of the depth of number of cars that could win the race. So it bodes really well for a bit of fun on Sunday, the 15th of February.
I think it's a bit more than just a bit of fun. But when you consider, mate, that last year was a 22-car field, of which there was a couple of, I think, 3 GT4 cars, plus the KTM, which is back again this year. Of course, they had that great result last year to finally get that car to the line after many years of issues and problems. But the GT3 field, I mean, it's pretty much a GT3 field this year. There's very few other cars. There's one of the IRC GT cars that is going to run. It's a shame that there's not more of those in the field. The KTM, as I mentioned, is back, which is a GT2 spec car. There's a GT4 McLaren from Method in the field. But apart from that, it's pretty much GT3 all the way.
Yeah, it is, which sort of mirrors the other key GT3 races around the world, like, you know, the 24 Hours of Spa, the Suzuka 10 Hour, which is part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, and, you know, races in Abu Dhabi and other key events as well. So, and 31 GT3 cars in this corner of the world. It's a massive logistical effort to get them all here. And as a result, you know, we've had teams coming from Germany, they're coming from Hong Kong, from China, from New Zealand, from Belgium, the US represented again, Great Britain, of course. So they've come from all over the world, and that's just a team point of view. The other thing I really love about this year, and one of the highlights of this race for mine, has been some of the Asian-based GT teams that we've had rock up over the journey. You cast your mind back, you know, to the mid-2010s. Clearwater Racing would rock up with their Ferrari, Mokwen Sung and his guys, which were such a bright, colourful addition to the grid. I love that we're now seeing some more of that as well. So Team KRC, for example, with their BMW out of China, making their first start. And There's one thing you'd be guaranteed out of Asian GT teams is a wild livery. And there's already been some that have delivered on that. And I suspect there might be a few more when cars get rolled out onto the pit lane ahead of practice number 1 on Friday this week. So, yeah, I love the variety. It's extraordinary. And the depth of competition is going to be great. And the different cars and sights and sounds that make GT3 racing so appealing are going to be on full show this week.
So let's actually step through some of the cars, the drivers, who's coming, who's here. We probably start most logically with the team that finished at the front last year, and that's the WRT BMW squad. They're coming back with another 2-car lineup. We've got a little change to the lineup here this year. Of course, we get Valentino Rossi penciled in for his, now, as much as this pod's annual, his visit to Bathurst is annual as well, in the famous 46. And I think I read this somewhere that the Sunday race day at Bathurst is, I might be wrong here, his last day as a 46-year-old before his 47th birthday. How would that be if the 46 could win on his last day of being 46? You know I love a number. That would be something that I would expect you to roll out should he win the race on the last lap on Sunday afternoon.
It may or may not have already been put in the noons for Sunday. If there's ever a fairy tale Bathurst story to roll out, that is definitely right up there, isn't it? Imagine him winning that race. The fact he got on the podium last year was outstanding. And what I love about Valentino, he genuinely loves coming to Bathurst. And this is a guy, he doesn't need to do this race.
No, not at all.
He doesn't need to do anything, but his competitive drive and his willingness to keep turning up and seek improvement is outstanding. And last year on race pace, he was every bit as quick as the guys in his car. There was just never an asterisk when he was behind the wheel. We go, Valentino's behind the wheel. That might be a little weak link in car 46. It wasn't, not even slightly. And that's why they finished second, 8 seconds behind their team car. But I love the fact that WRT are back. I love the fact that BMW are backing them to be back as well, because last year could have been the ultimate mic drop, Noons. They won the race. Their first win in the GT3 era, and they go 1-2, which is massively hard to achieve in any Bathurst Enduro. They could have just dropped the mic and walked away and gone, we've done it. We've ticked the box. We're away. But they've come back. And, as you say, a little shuffle in their driver lineup. If anything, they add some more strength to it because Jordan Pepper, who is now a BMW factory driver, joins the team. And the last time the South African came to Bathurst, he won the race in a Bentley. And he was the first South African to win the race. The second was Kelvin van der Linde, who won it last year. So the two South Africans driving together with Charles Weerts in the 32 car, and then Augusto Farfus, who has been a long servant for BMW and finally got that win last season. He's alongside Raffaele Marciello, who's been one of our international favourites over the journey through Mercedes and now BMW and VR, of course. And WRT got it sussed. They learnt that first year. They worked out what the car needed, and then last year they delivered on everything that they'd been building towards over a couple of seasons of rocking up as a BMW team. And good luck beating them again this year. They have to go in as early favourites, given what they did last year alone.
Yeah, there's lots of challenges here, and this pod could go for literally 12 hours to step through them all. One of the ones I wanted to focus on is a guy who has won the race before but wasn't in the car. That sounds a little strange, but go back to that race you mentioned, 2019, Matt Campbell in that amazing finish in that Porsche, getting the pass on Jake Dennis in the Aston Martin, going on to win the race, giving Porsche its first 12 hour. The guy in the pits was a winner that day. Earl Bamber. It was his team, but now he returns, having not done the 12 hours since he drove that. Remember that Meguiar's Porsche with Craig Lowndes and Lawrence Vantor? It's his first start as a driver in the 12 hours since 2020. So he is going to be part of the Corvette lineup. There's 2 cars coming from the Johor Motorsport Racing Operation JMR. So the car he's in, Nicky Katzberg, the Dutchman, he's been to Bathurst before. Alexander Sims, really rapid Brit. That's a full pro car. That's going to be a contender as well. 2-car lineup from them, of course. They're bringing a Pro-Am car as well with the Princes behind the wheel, Prince Jeffrey, Prince Abu, and Ben Green from the UK with Jordan Love, the Aussie as well. So great to have Corvette. I mean, when you look at it, and we looked at Corvette and it's Bathurst history in our official program for the Bathurst 12 hour. That, by the way, you can purchase at the event this weekend. You can order it online if we've got any stock remaining. We looked at the history of Corvette at Bathurst, and it doesn't really have much of a history, not just in the 12 hour. I mean, there was that Trofeo car that Greg Murphy and Ivan Capelli drove some years back, I think 2013. We went back to Murray Carter. Remember, he had the Nations Cup Corvette. He ran that in the GTP 3 hour in 99. But Corvette and Bathurst don't have much of a history. There's a chance to write one this weekend.
Yeah, there really is. And what I think some people do forget is that Corvette have a remarkable history in endurance racing in both the United States and in Europe. I mean, the famous Pratt Miller Corvettes that won at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the GT class so many times. And then, of course, at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, among all the other IMSA and ALMS and GT races in the US over the journey. So they're a brand with a storied sports car history. It's just never been here. But how good is the narrative of Earl Bamber racing his own Porsche? And I don't know who JMR have got tapped to drive the number 2 car in the final stint of the race. But what happens if it's Bamber behind the wheel and he's second and he's chasing, let's say, Lauren Heinrich, who's behind the wheel of the Earl Bamber Motorsport Porsche, and it's the last lap, and it's a classic, it's a replay of 2019, except this time it's the Corvette trying to get down the inside of the Porsche. Does Bamber move his own car out of the way to win the race for Corvette?
Of course he does.
Of course
Damn
he does.
Straight
exactly.
He does.
Because then the bonus he gets for winning, he'll just have to sink into the crash damage for his own race team. But it's an amazing narrative, and I love how it's played out. It's going to be a fun little subplot in this race. And there is a genuine chance, Noons, that those 2 cars will end up playing together at some point because they are both extremely strong. So you went through the Corvette lineup. Ricky Feller, who's been to Bathurst several times in an Audi, is now a Porsche driver, and he's with EBM. Lauren Heinrich, who is just a superstar of one make Porsche racing and now their GT program, and Klaus Bachler, who's awesome Austrian driver coming to Bathurst. So, I mean, they're both contenders for sure. So, yeah, it's a good subplot, and outside of perhaps Rossi winning as a 46-year-old, Bamber versus Earl Bamber Motorsport. It's a very funny story to tell on the final lap of a race, potentially.
Winner either way, if either of those 2 cars, the number 2 Corvette or the number 61 Porsche, ends up saluting on Sunday afternoon. Where do I go next? I think it's natural when you say Corvette, you go Mustang, but one Mustang this year, which is still fantastic, still laughs with the fact that it's HRT that are bringing in a Ford Mustang to Mount Panorama to an Enduro, but we'll get over those gags after a couple of days at the track. But the exciting part for me is not just that Mustang and the GT3 car are coming to this race, is that Chris Meese is coming back to the 12 hour. That really was an event that, he was so successful in the early years of the GT era. He's been a regular over the years. He's probably only been overshadowed really as kind of Aussie favourite by Jules Gounon, who's gone and, won it multiple times. But he's in that ilk of people. And don't forget, he's now a supercar driver. He tested a supercar. What is it? Was it Daytona or Charlotte or wherever it was that they had a run last year? I think it counts. He's absolutely give him a passport, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it's great that he's back. And in the broadcast last year, we ranked our top 5 greatest drivers of all time in the Bathurst 12 hour, and he made the 5. He was one of our nominations in that top 5 rundown, and justifiably so. He was the first international star that came to Bathurst. When the race went to GT3 rules in 2011, he was the international young gun that I think the event needed to get around. He was super fast, obviously, but he was very personable and he had a sense of humor, and he immediately got Bathurst. He got the history. He got the aura of the place, for lack of a better word. So he bought into it from day one, and I think that's what really endeared him to Aussie fans when he rocked up with Audi in 2011 and won, and then in 2012 and won. And cast your mind back to that first race, it was a bit tense between the German Audi and the Aussie Audi in that 2-car Team Jost team. But even though Chris Meese beat, the Prince of Panorama, Craig Lowndes, ordinarily you'd get taken down for that, but everyone was okay with it. So, and then of course he's rocked up. He's raced GT cars in Oz, in GT World Challenge Australia, involved in several championship wins there with the likes of the pro-am drivers in that car, Yasser Shahin among others. So he's built a really good reputation in Australia. Cool to have him back. Dennis Olsen, former race winner, won that 2019 race in the Porsche with Matt Campbell. He's got priors on the mountain. He's a good get with that experience around the mountain as well. And then Brock Feeney. I mean, I don't think we need to say too much more about Brock and what he's achieved in the last couple of years. I'd argue after last season, Noons, you're probably going to put him in the car for the shootout, the Pirelli pole battle, and the battle for the Alan Simonson pole award, because he is the king of qualifying globally last year in any category, I would argue. So great combo. And the other thing as well, Ford are fully invested in this. They are engaged as a manufacturer, and the potential for a bit of history too, Noons, because they won the great race in October. No brand's ever won both races back to back in the history of the 12-hour. So wouldn't that be an amazing first for Ford if they could lift the 12-hour trophy, 6 months after winning the great race in October with the Grove car?
Yeah, would be quite amazing if they could do that. And just on Meese, this will be the first time he's ever driven at the 12-hour in something other than an Audi. He's done 11 of these races at Bathurst in the past. Every time it's been in an Audi R8, and this is the first time. Last time he was there was 23, drove with Ricardo Feller and Yasser Shahin. But you go back, as you said, he had those first two wins. Then he drove the Hallmark car, Mark Sini's car, for a couple of years as kind of the pro guy in among those ranks. Drove those JMEC PEM cars with Melbourne Performance Centre for many years, with Garth Tander and Christopher Haase and Marcus Winkelhock, Marco Mapelli, who's back this year, and we'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point. He's in the Lamborghini this year. He was in an Audi back in 2016. So there's a lot of history that's being formed now with a lot of these drivers who, let's face it, if they probably said, I don't want to go and do that event, they could get out of having to go to that event. But such is their love for the same place that we love, it's worked out quite well that they've become absolute Bathurst tragics like the rest of us. But, I mean, we talk so much about the cars that have been the regulars at Bathurst in the last few years, and the Mercedes AMGs are the kind of what I point to when I say that. And you mentioned about Groves winning the Bathurst 1000 with Matt Payne and Garth Tander last October. They are in the field for this race. So as much as Ford could go double back-to-back, Groves could actually do the same, albeit in a Mercedes. They've put together a lineup that's got Brenton Grove at the wheel, Will Davison, of course, who's now on board for the supercar Enduros. He knows his way around 12 hours, GT racing, that sort of stuff as well. And Kai Allen, who's had a bit of a taste with the Groves and their Merc overseas at the start of this year. So handy lineup. We will spend probably 3 days reminding Will that the last time he was at the 12-hour, he did that, what was it, 720 in that Audi at the top of the mountain and somehow didn't crash.
Yeah.
He still says it was skill. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it was great because it got about 3 million views on social media within 12 hours. So it was, from a PR point of view, it was pretty handy. I did talk to young Wilbur about that when he was over racing in New Zealand recently. So, yes, he didn't really... He kind of liked to be reminded about it, but not quite how close it was to canoeing an Audi R8 at high speed. It's a good combo. Kai Allen... You remember when Brock Feeney started driving GT cars and just had no background in anything with that much downforce or that kind of tyre, and duck to water, just went bang and whacked the thing on the front row. I get the kind of feeling Kai could be a bit like that too. I think his entire background has almost been entirely in supercars. So I feel like he could be a bit of a dark horse there. And don't rule out that car. Brenton Grove is technically classified an AM driver, but he is fast at the moment. And some of the races he did in GT World Challenge last year, he was just as quick as the pro drivers in that field. So he's pretty sharp as well. And remember, you can win this race with an AM driver in your car if you're entered in the pro class. And
which that car is.
Yeah, correct. And there's an example of that in the team that's won the race twice in the last 5 years and finished on the podium every year in the last 5 years in Kenny Habul's team. So there's a benchmark there, and I love that their Groves are going to have a crack at this, and I think they'll have a good shot at it too.
you mentioned the car that I was going to go to next. When you go to the 12-hour, you need to watch car 75. The Mercedes-Benz, whether it was under the Sun Energy One banner, 75 Express, whatever the banner is, it's Kenny's lineup. It's a Merc. It's got Luca Stoltz and obviously Jules as part of the lineup. But we just have to talk Jules Gounon. He has been phenomenal at this race. And so he's done 7. Let's just get our head around this. 3 as a Bentley factory driver, 4 now with Kenny's team. Now, Bentley finding their way, didn't quite get those results for a few years. 16th and 8th for him. Bang, they win in 2020. Then we don't have a race in 2021 because of COVID. 22, the race comes back, albeit in May. Bang, Kenny, Luca, Jules win the race with Martin Conrad, let's not forget as well. So since then, it's a win, a second, a third. Sustained achievement and performance in a top-tier race at a top-tier racetrack. It's stunning. You sort of feel like the bubble's got to burst one year, and if it does, it'll kind of be out of his control. It'll be something that happens that you can't point the finger at him. It's just the feeling of the way that guy has meshed with that mountain.
Yeah, it is. But to be fair, I sort of thought the bubble might burst after they won the second time, because the 2021 race as a Pro-Am race, it was a level playing field for them. But the 22 correction.
22, yes.
The 23 race went back to full pro, and they found this loophole in the pro rules where a bronze driver in the outright class has no minimum driver time, only the requirements around how long all of the drivers can be in the car over the course of the race. And they exploited the rule, but Kenny did the job driving. So they won that year. And after that, you go, oh man, surely they couldn't do it again. And then they end up on the podium again. And then last year, which was a remarkable race, they do it again. But what I love about Gounon, and I do want to talk about Lucas Stoltz, because I think his role in all of this is undersold and has been.
Big time.
But Jules Gounon put an Instagram post up in the lead up to the race. And I think this sums up why he's so good there, because of all the international drivers, and we spoke about Chris Meese, I think Jules gets it more than any of them. So I'll quote from his Instagram notes. He says, "Racing is a privilege, but racing there," meaning Mount Panorama, "is a privilege beyond words. Feeling the mountain's presence, its aura, staying at Kenny's house inside the mountain itself, surrounded by kangaroos, even an albino one. Living and breathing a place that isn't just a circuit, but a legend. It's one of the greatest races in the world. I only wish it were closer to Europe so I could share this magic with more friends and motorsport fans, because everyone deserves to feel what Bathurst gives you." Doesn't that put the hair on the back of your neck up? And this is a guy from France who has drives in every one of the major endurance races on the planet. Le Mans, Daytona, Sebring, Spa, Nürburgring. That's what he says about Bathurst. That gets me utterly fired up. And I genuinely think it's part of the reason why he's so good at that place, because he just gets it. He gets it so well. I love that.
Give the man the keys to the city. That's got to be it's got to be the go. Like,
if Kenny's the unofficial mayor, then
yes,
Gounon could be the member for parliament or something. I don't know. He's so good. Lucas Stoltz, though, Noons, is the quiet achiever in that combo. And it's Gounon who got the hero stints in all of their big wins. He was the one that raced to the flag. He was in that battle with Maro Engel at the end of the race a couple of years ago. But it's Lucas Stoltz who does all the back-breaking, heavy lifting in the middle of the day when everyone just sort of settles down. And he gets out there like a metronome and punches out unbelievable lap times. And his contribution to those wins is hugely significant, massively significant.
Albeit overshadowed, though. Definitely overshadowed.
Totally. But I think that's Lucas' style. He just goes about it.
Yeah.
It just workhorse performer, ticks off the laps within a tenth of each other, hands the car over. Other people take the limelight, but he still won the race. And got all these podiums. His track record is as good as anybody there.
It's a hell of a number. It's a hell of a record. Looking at some of the other Mercs just quickly, Tagani are there with a couple of cars. Jade is going to steer one of those that's a pro car. They've also got their Pro-Am car that features Brendan Leach, the Kiwi, is going to have a run with those guys. You've also got Garth Walden's team and Ram together with a four-driver lineup. We're going to see Zach Bates team up with the Conduras boys and Dave Russell in the Superbarn Supermarkets car that's part of the Tagani lineup. As we mentioned, 75 Express, Kenny Habul's team. Craft Bamboo, they're back. Matty Gotts, who put in that awesome drive against Craig Lowndes way back in the day. It feels like yesterday, but it's not anymore. He's become a bit of a regular. Lucas Auer, who was, the gun of qualifying last year, so they're back. Scotty Taylor's team, small change this year. Cam Waters back, Thomas Randall back. Craig Lowndes out, but the in is pretty good. Chaz Mostert, the reigning supercars champion, goes from Ferrari last year to Mercedes this year. And then, of course, the GMR, the Group M car, I guess we could historically call it. Maro Engel, who, has just been so close so many times at the 12-hour. Mick Grenier, the Canadian, and Maxime Martin, the Belgian. I mean, all guys who've done it and know the way around the track, know the car, all that stuff, plug and play, they'll be away. On numbers and quality, the Mercs are once again right in the mix here.
Yeah, 10 AMG GT3s, which is a record for a single brand in the GT3 era of the race, which is really cool. Their commitment is absolute, isn't it? The combination, it's hard to split them. All those pro cars you listed there are outrageously good, but if there was an X factor one for mine, it's probably Tagani. They're now an official Mercedes AMG team, so they've got the factory blessing, which is a huge effort for Nathan and the team there, based in Wollongong, to be able to pull together factory support from AMG. Jaden Ojeda has been outrageously good in GT cars over the last couple of years. In the Realtor car, they've been racing in World Challenge Australia with Paul Lucchini, which is awesome. Fabian Schiller's super fast. Philip Eller's super fast. Like the Euros, you plug them in, they're going to be awesome. So I love that combo. The other little story, though, that I think is worth touching on, and I spoke earlier, Noons, about the Asian contingent coming down from China and Hong Kong and GT racing in that part of the world. And there's a little battle going on for the first of them to actually get a win. You mentioned Craft Bamboo Racing, who have been one of the most loyal, long-standing servants of the Bathurst 12-hour. They were the first international team that committed to the race in 22 post-COVID. They made a huge effort to get down here, even though it was particularly challenging to get into the country, especially from Asia at that part of the time. So the fact they're back with Maxi Goetz, Rolf Aron, and Lucas Auer is strong. And then GMR, another servant race team that's been coming back year after year trying to win this thing, come close on occasions. Maro Engel, it's his 10th 12-hour this year. We know he's going to be great. Mick Grenier has been quick over the last couple of years, and Maxime Martin, who became a Mercedes driver for the first time last year, was super fast and knows the joint, so that's great. But then the other team from that region looking to be the first of them to get a win is another team that's been coming back year after year, is Absolute Racing, who are back with their Porsche 911 GT3R. And I don't know if this is the strongest driving lineup in the field, but it has to be right up there. Alessio Picariello, who the bane of Will Brown's life 12 months ago, because remember Will in the Ferrari bottled up behind that Porsche for
I think he's still stuck behind
minutes.
He's still stuck behind it somewhere.
He wakes up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night with a big Porsche rear wing just flashing across his face. But he's awesome. Bastian Boos, the one mate Porsche racer who's making his Bathurst debut, but he'll be good. And then M. Campbell, two-time winner, hero to many, and that is a remarkably strong contest. So there's another of the many subplots in the race this year, that battle between these teams that have been coming to the race for a long time have either got poles in the case of Absolute or podium finishes in the case of GMR and Craft Bamboo, but haven't quite got the big win yet. That's going to be a fun story. And the party, if any one of them wins from that part of the world, will be pretty significant.
It's going to be large. One of the Mercs that we actually missed is the Heart of Racing by SPS bronze entry, because there's a famous surname on that list, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, Dudu Barrichello, Eduardo Barrichello, the son of Rubens, which is pretty good. So one of four Noons, sons of 1990s Formula One drivers on the grid.
Oh, yes. This is. Can we have a go at this? So
yeah, we can.
He's one.
He's one. We've talked about Gounon. So his dad
Jean-Marc
was Jean-Marc Gounon. Yep.
Oui.
Yep. Do you know the other? Can you name the other two?
I'm working my way through it. Brad Schumacher claims he's
Yeah, he
Alan
does.
Schumacher,
He'd love to be related.
but we can't wheel him into the mix here. That doesn't kind of work that way. Let's see. I'm going through the rest of the entry list here
Have a look
see
at
who
a little Ferrari, perhaps car 193.
No, there is a Patrese,
Patrese,
Lorenzo Patrese, so Ricciardo's lad.
correct, which is really cool.
That is very cool. And how many is that? We got 3.
That's
one to go.
3. There's one more, and I'm going to warn you, it's pretty obscure.
There's all right. You tell me, and let's see how obscure it really is.
So Daniel Serra, who's back for Arise Racing GT, the Brazilian driver, car number 26, their pro car. We haven't talked about it yet. With Davide Rigon, who is awesome, and Jackson Evans. So his dad was Chico Serra, who started 18 Formula One races for Fittipaldi and Arrows between 1981 and 1983.
So he doesn't quite qualify for 90s, but he's 80s.
No, it's
so
80s.
He's Formula One. That counts.
Daniel Serra's a bit older than Patrese and Goonan. So, but how good's that? I love the links back. So 3 of the 4, their dads raced in the Australian Grand Prix in Adelaide or Melbourne.
Cool.
Yeah,
nicely done. We do like a link. We like a bit of history.
Link. Yeah,
you mentioned Arise Ferrari. That car, the pro car, Jackson Evans is the, I guess our local fans would know, but obviously the internationals teaming up with him, well credentialed. Ryan Wood's going to lead off their bronze, the other Ferrari in the field that's a bronze entry. So good to see that there's a bunch of supercar guys who are not taking the weekend off and getting their eye in for round 1 of supercars, albeit in a different sort of supercar.
11 full-timers. 11 supercar full-timers.
It's nearly half the field, isn't it?
It is, which is awesome. Yeah. I love what Arise Racing GT have done with that second entry, their bronze entry. So they're partnered up with the brilliantly named Ziggo Sport Tempesta, which is an outrageously great racing car team name, by the way, which is a squad headed up by Christopher Froggatt, who's going to be driving the British driver Jonathan Quay from Hong Kong, Patrese we mentioned, and then Ryan Wood, who is in top form. I can report, Noons, both on and off the racetrack, is young Woody after a season in New Zealand in the Open Wheelers, where he was a race winner and won the Denny Holm Memorial Trophy in Formula Regional Oceania. We chucked him off bridges. We threw him out of planes over there, and he did them all with a smile and a laugh, as he always does. Only passed out once. So he's...
Hang on, what?
No, well, the skydiving was a big
I was going to say, was it the post-race celebration?
No,
the skydiving.
The skydiving. Okay, skydiving. No, he's very well behaved, young Ryan. But no, the skydiving, he and Greg Murphy jumped out together, and it didn't. He enjoyed it in the end when he landed, but I think in the moment he might have battled. But he's in great touch, Woody, and he is sharp as a pin, having raced in a very competitive open wheel field in NZ for 4 weeks back to back. So watch out for that car. I think he might be strong.
We talked earlier about the varieties back a little bit this year in terms of some different cars and not just having lots of the same. Yes, there's lots of Mercs in the field, but we talked about the Corvettes. We've got the Mustang. We still have some Audis. We'll touch on them in a minute. The Ferraris are there as well. The BMWs return. Valente Rosso, though, they've got Aston Martin, so they've ticked the box for variety here for us, which is great as well. And they've also got a McLaren. They're one of a couple of McLarens in the field. So this is the first time in, 6 years, I think, that we've really had McLarens in the mix for the Bathurst 12 hour. So the 720 is the current, 720S is the current GT3 car. Of course, back in the day, we had what was the first thing? The MP4 12C was
the 12C GT3, and then the 650S
650.
GT3, which was a winner with Techno in 16, and still the quickest qualifying lap for a long time with SVG. Valente, who have done a deal with McLaren to sort of be their local GT arm now, which is really exciting. So, firstly, cool to have the Aston Martin back, because that car was was sort of under the radar performer in last year's race. It was quite a late entry, and a bunch of young kids from overseas and here driving it, and they did a solid job. So they've tapped Bryce Fullwood to drive that. I'm looking forward to seeing Bryce behind the wheel of a GT car, something new for him. Damien Hamilton, Andres Pato, and Maxime Robin, who's a very fast Frenchman Aston Martin driver, so he'll be quick in that car. That's in Pro-Am. But it's their McLaren Noons that really fascinates me. And I think in the silver class, but I think outright this car could surprise. So Bailey Hall, who is now very accomplished in GT driving and racing with Carrera Cup, Marcus Flack, who's been extremely quick in Porsche Carrera Cup and has experience in this race in one of Method Motorsport's GT4 cars as well. And Ryland Gray, who makes his GT3 debut this year ahead of his supercar debut. That's a really strong combination. If they keep the thing on the island, I reckon they could be a little dark horse over the journey, and it's cool to see a couple of really strong McLarens in the outright field. And as you mentioned, first time since 2020, and in 2020, they were the closest contender to Bentley with the non-Evo version of the 720S. So they qualified at the front. They raced at the front early. I don't know if you remember early in the race, in the pre-dawn, Ben Barnicoat, big send up the inside at the chase for the race lead, about 10 laps into the race, perhaps, to wrestle the lead away early in that race. And they led quite a few chunks, ended up finishing second. They come back with an Evo version of the car, which by all reports is substantially better than the first version of the 720. So that's it's going to be a challenge, and we welcome the Optimum Motorsport team to the event for the first time, which is going to be really cool.
And I think that car has real interest for me because I think a guy who's just not been given the accolades in this part of the world for what he's done with his career, he's been a very quiet achiever, is Garnet Patterson. I mean, he has what he has put together overseas with GT racing and prototype racing. Anyone in Australian motor racing who's maybe a casual generic supercars or broader fan might not have heard of Garnet. He raced Formula 3 here. He's been off around the world in more recent years chasing this sports car in GT Dream and has been putting together a great body of work with the teams he's driving with, the cars he's driving, the series he's in, the teams he's with. If he could win this 12-hour, what that does for an Australian driver's career overseas is without question. But what it does for him here to put his name up in lights here would be something special. I reckon that would be, I mean, we've got 1,000,001 great stories with a lot of these, if this car wins or that car wins. But I think he's kind of this unsung hero that deserves more attention, more credit, and more kudos than he's been able to get so far.
Yeah, well said. And also Garnet behind the scenes has been instrumental in pulling this program together and getting Optimum who are a British GT team. So they do some international racing, but primarily the British GT Championship. He's been instrumental. And to lift the lid a little bit, he came up to us at the Bathurst 1000, where, of all things, he was racing a VB Commodore in Touring Car Masters.
Yes.
And having an absolute whale of a time, having never driven anything like that in his life. He was having a ball. He said, "Oh, look, Optimum really want to come. What do we need to do? How can we make this happen? How can we get this together?" So I and Shane Rudzis, the event director, sat down and then the balls all sort of fell into place from that point there. So he's been instrumental in getting this combination together, which I have massive respect for. He's not just a driver. He's been involved in pulling this program together and working to get that team to Bathurst. So good for him, obviously, but great for the event and great for the race to have a really strong McLaren presence and to bring that brand, which has got so much significance to the race, and Aussie fans in particular are all talking about McLaren, good or bad, at the moment in Formula One. And with them comes Ben Barnicoat, who's been there before, and Marvin Kirchhoffer as well, who's got Bathurst experience. So no problems from a driving point of view. That's exciting. That's an exciting car.
And, mate, for Kirchhoffer, don't forget, last time he was at Bathurst, he was the one that did that massive backflip in qualifying in 2020 in the Aston. He'd been part of that lineup the previous year that came so close to winning the race. So there'd be a nice return and getting one back on the mountain if he can get a result. So that's the Optimum McLaren. That's car 95 if you're just mentally picturing which cars, which numbers to keep an eye on at the 12-hour this weekend. We can't talk about the 12-hour without talking about Audis.
Yes.
Audis have been in this race every year since it became a GT3 race. And although the Audi R8 is being, it's discontinued as a GT3 car, there's not a pool of factory drivers like there once was. But they're still there. They're still in the field. They're still running. Mark Sini's back with the Hallmark car. I tell you what, you can set your watch to Mark Sini in the Hallmark car and the Audi being in the 12 hour. He's dragged Lee Holdsworth and Dean Fiore back. Those boys just have a great weekend every time they go car racing. And if they get a trophy, it's kind of the ultimate cherry on top of the cake. But the Quinns, that's a great story. Tony Quinn, his lads, Kenton Clark and Clark's son Ryder, is a cool story. I mean, have we ever seen a car at Bathurst with 4 family members in it and 3 generations? I mean, they're breaking records before they even get onto the track this weekend. And then, of course, the JMEC MPC car, Brad Schumacher, Christopher Haas is back, and Will Brown, who goes from from Ferrari to Audi for this year's 12 hour. They're in the lineup. They are running the same strategy as we've seen Kenny Habul's team run, albeit Brad is an AM driver, but they will be in the pro class to take advantage of the way that loophole works without that driver time scenario. So, look, it would be a bit of a surprise. It would be a fair surprise to see an Audi get up there and win, but it's Bathurst, and that's the beauty of it. There's anything that can happen, and that's a good solid driver lineup that know the car and know the place. So there's kind of the little old race fan in us all that, as much as the Audis were kind of the dominant thing for so long, and there were so many of them, they were like the Commodore of GT3 racing. Now that they're not, we kind of don't want to see them go. We want to see some of them on the grid every year still.
You only have to go back 2 years, though, Noons, to put them on the podium, MPC. Yeah. So Chris Haase with Kelvin van der Linde and Liam Talbot, and that amazing scrap for the final step on the podium in 2024. In fact, it was all steps on the podium, wasn't it, really? And it was such a great story for Chris Haase, who'd been coming to Bathurst for years as an Audi driver and had just ground away and had come close to a podium on a couple of occasions, but had been denied. And I think it was his 6th or 7th start, and finally got a podium. And he did it with just this awesome bit of racecraft at the end in an amazing fight for the final step on the podium. So I love that combo. I'm thrilled that Haas is back. Will Brown he's shown everything he's good at in a GT3 car. And then Brad Schumacher is the reigning GT World Challenge Australia champion. So this is a guy now that's won the trophy class, won the Pro-Am class, or won the Am class, and then won the outright championship in domestic GT3 racing. Like, Brad can drive. Brad absolutely can drive. He is not a weak link in that car by any extent. So he's going to be super strong. The other entry, Noons, from an Audi point of view, is a really good one as well. That was a little, not necessarily a late addition, but didn't appear on the initial entry list, but came out later, is Team BRM, the Adelaide squad, who had a really good season in World Challenge Oz last year with Mark Rosser and Alex Peroni, the Tasmanian former Formula 3 racer. So they're linked up with Steve Brooks, the Kiwi from Wolfbrook Racing, who last year had Ryan Wood in his Audi. And they've dragged James Golding, who was first to the post at the 1000 last year, didn't win the race, but showed what he's got. That's a fun little combo in Pro-Am. And Peroni and Golding should be as fast as any of the pros over a lap. And as an Am driver, Brooksy and Rosser will be really solid. So from a Pro-Am class point of view, strong. But who knows, stay on the lead lap, get to the end, plug Golding or Peroni into the car, and you never know what's going to happen. So, yeah, Audi back with 4 cars. 15th year in a row they've had representation in this race, which is a record. So it's great to see the brand still there and still representing and still competitive as well.
So we ended up, obviously this might change after we record this episode and publish it, but 35 cars, Is that where we've ended up with the entry list? So that's great. Look, we are very positive, happy, healthy people about the Bathurst 12 hour. But, Rich, there's something that I've got an issue with and I have to get it off my chest. Will you permit me to get it off?
As they say, Noons, this is your show.
This is Therapy 101. Yeah. I've got an issue with 2 words here, Rich. Mm-hmm. Lucky dog.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like it. Don't like it. Don't want to see it. I know that the rule only kicks in at the start of the 3rd hour of the race, so that's 8:45 a.m. Local time, and it ends with 2 hours to go. So it's not in the mix when the big fight's going on at the end of the race. But I think this field's good enough that it doesn't need it. If you get behind there, you could still work your way back in with safety cars and with being genuinely quick. It's a gimmick that I don't like. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm reasonably politically neutral about it, to be honest with you, because
come on now.
I am, and I'm gonna sit on the fence. I love that you've said that and have an opinion about it, and I like that. I just don't think it's influenced the race over the last couple of years. So I don't.
So get rid of it then. If it doesn't influence anything or do anything, what's the point in having it?
Yeah, that's fair. But if it keeps, it's designed, I think, that the methodology behind it, I think, is to look after the combos with an AM driver behind the wheel and perhaps keep them engaged longer. Now, yes, they're all fighting for their class win, and that's the priority. But yeah, no, I'll probably get rid of it. It's probably, bro, you've sold me. Yeah.
I didn't sell it very hard, to be honest.
No, you didn't. Like in a race with a field this deep, I get it.
You don't need it. You do not need it.
When you got 20 cars, it's probably worth having from a show point of view, but the show's not going to need help this year. The race will be outstanding in its own right. So you're probably right. It's probably something in the rule set that can go by the wayside. What I do like, though, from a rules point of view, is that there is, outside of that, there is consistency year to year. And I remember a couple of years ago, we had like stint lengths and things like that, which removed a lot of the strategic variables from the race. It took a lot of the team game out of it. So last year, while we had a really good race in terms of on-track action, we had some strategy as well, and we had overlapping strategies at the end that were 25 minutes apart, and it ultimately decided the race. And the BMW had a bit better fuel economy than everyone else, and they could stretch their stints out a bit longer. And, you know, we saw Chaz Mostert leading the race in the Ferrari with 20 minutes to go, praying for a safety car that never came, had to pit, put fuel in, splash and go, cost them a race, cost them a podium. Whereas the BMWs were able to do it on one less stop. That's endurance racing. That was great.
Correct.
And the brain power that goes into unpicking the strategy in these races. In what is now, it's so competitive and quite hard to pass. It's a track position race. You need to be leading this race, which is why Ferrari and Arise rolled the dice last year. If they got a lucky safety car, they probably would have won. Yeah. So you need to be in front, roll the dice. I love that. I love that still exists, and I love that there's still some real strategy game. You can go off sequence in this race. You can roll the dice. You can do something different to give yourself an opportunity. Might not work, but it also might. And if it does, you'll win the Bathurst 12 hour, and that's going to be massive. So I like that we've got consistency in those rules. We've got an idea about how this race is going to play out from a strategy point of view, which is excellent. And we know the different sort of ways that teams are going to think to unpick these 12 hours and the, 7 to 10 pit stops you're going to have to make.
The thing that I like too is that we've had the iron out in the last few years, and what was sort of called the shootout has been, it's the Pirelli pole battle. It is 10 cars on the track, but it's not one at a time. That's a shootout. That's a top 10 shootout. This is a pole battle. Love it. It makes it unique to the 12 hour in the way that it's structured. Being in the 10 is important, and you've got to be in it to get the pole position. But the methodology and the way that it's described and referred to, I think that's been nailed. Calling it a shootout the other year didn't really work. But that's all cool. Lucky dog, you're going to sort that out for us for next year. That's fine. Thank you to you. Very kind of you. Very kind of you. But in terms of, as you said, the race format, in terms of the lead-up sessions and all of the bits around it, it's a 3-day meeting. There's a couple of support categories. Obviously, the Ferrari Challenge Series is there, as well as the combined sedans, GTs. There's a bit of a mixture of all sorts of stuff that'll keep us entertained when the 12-hour cars aren't on the track. Now, a couple of topics here I want to cover off on. Our great friends at Reckless Brewing have gone and put together a 12-hour beer.
Yes.
Which is quite a good idea, because at the end of the day, we like the 12-hour and we like beer. So that's a win. But I hear that the limited run has already been, to a degree, snapped up. So by the time this comes out, I'm not sure there's going to be any left. We might not even get to the track in time.
Well, yes. Firstly, it's like Jared and Grace and all the team at Reckless had a picture of you and I on their desk and going, what can we do to make these two blokes happy? I know. Let's do a Bathurst 12-hour beer. So that's amazing, isn't it? And it's a great partnership. And having a local, the 12-hour is big enough, Noons, that they could go to a CUB or Kirin or whoever, the massive beer companies, and they would be interested in being involved. But this is a local business based in Bathurst that the event is working with. So for starters, that's fantastic. Secondly, a themed can for the race is brilliant. What a great thing. Thirdly, yes, pre-sales as we record this have been extremely strong. By the time this goes live, the pre-sale stuff might be out, but it will be available at the tap room. So head down to Reckless Brewing in Piper Street in Bathurst and get yourself a carton. If there's some left, go early in the week would be my recommendation. And it will be available at the various bars around the circuit as well over the race weekend. So, but limited numbers. Once they're gone, they're gone. But how good for a local business to get involved like that. And you and I might have to, out of research purposes, of course, purely. Supporting the local economy, we might just have to go and sample some Noons.
Happy to go every night.
Lock it in.
If anyone's looking for us at the 12-hour of an evening, that's pretty much where
Reckless.
we're going to be.
Go to Reckless. It's real simple.
It's not hard. If you need to send out a search party for Richard Craill at the Bathurst 12-hour weekend at dinner time, and probably me and Sleuth team, probably Reckless is where you'll find us anyway. Yes. So say good day if you're there for the evening. A couple of other things I wanted to cover off on, Richard. And I'm intrigued by this because you'll have formed a very strong strategy on this, having known you and worked with you for many, many years in different ways, including at the 12-hour.
Yeah.
Including at the 12-hour. It's a 12-hour race.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long time. It's a fair time to stay focused, energized, mentally sharp, broadcasting for the television viewers of Australia and the world, wherever people are tuning into the streams and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
How do you prepare for a 12-hour? Do you do anything different than a sprint race? You do a lot of Carrera Cup sprint races and stuff like that on TV. Do you change your training schedule for a 12-hour when it's a long day in the commentary box? And do you like to do the whole race all the way through can you do no toilet breaks? Can you stay for every lap? How's your strategy and your pre-race form going?
So you want the full nuts and bolts of how this works?
I want to know how this works because I think the fans need to know, having done our super quiz in the official program for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour, you are featured in a question in that quiz, which I don't think you realised when you told me this late last year. But I can quote, if you don't have a copy of the program, we'll be at the track in Harris Park selling them over the course of the 3 days. And if you don't get one, jump online.
Do I know the answer to this question?
You will, so don't ruin it for everybody.
No, I won't.
But I'm going to page 74 of the official program, which is a beautiful, hang on. Oh, I love the smell of new print. It smells so good.
How good
Question 20 of 20. So let's give away a free answer here. The 2026 race marks Voice of the 12-Hour Richard Craill's 19th Bathurst 12-Hour in commentary for television, live stream, on track, or a combination of any or all. His longest on-air break in any of those races was 1 hour in 2018. Which world motorsport identity replaced him during that time?
Yeah, nice. Well, I won't give away the answer, but...
how is it that you've gone all those 12 hours and only taken 1 hour break?
Well, yeah, I think over the journey of the 18 to this date, I think the total break time over the course of it's something like 3.5 hours or something like that. So, it was pretty. I had the worst flu you've ever had in 2018, and I was about to collapse. So I needed to take a break. And was very fortunate that I'll give a clue, Noons. The driver at the time was there as a Porsche ambassador.
I think I may have recorded a podcast with him that weekend. Actually,
you might have. Did a bit in old Global Motorsport at a pretty high level. Pretty gritty
performer, I would have thought.
Yeah,
and did race at Bathurst. Has raced at Bathurst.
Yeah, loves a barbecue. So, well, look, to answer your question, Yeah, I generally start running about 6 months. No, that's a lie. I can't
No,
back
you
that up.
don't. No, you don't.
No. I start drinking the Reckless Brewing a couple of months out just to get myself in. No, look, I'm fortunate with this race, Noons, because I consult to do a lot of the comms media side of it as well. So from a prep and research point of view, you're sort of living it for 6 months. So you'll write a press release about someone coming out, or I'll give you a bell and go, hey, Noons, driver XYZ's coming. Here's a bit of background, good yarn for V8Sleuth.com, and other media outlets as well, of course. But the knowledge base sort of just builds in the lineup. And then the one tradition I do have is I'll go back and watch as much of last year's race as I can when time permits in the lead up within the 2 weeks before the race. So I had a couple of hours on a plane the other day coming back from New Zealand. I bowled over a couple of stints of last year's race on the phone just to remind myself of how it played out. And that helps from just understanding the race and the flow, because it's easy to do a supercar race every couple of weeks or a GT race, or, because you get that flow every round. You go, okay, well, we know this is about when they're going to stop. We know this is about when the tire's going to run out of life, or we know how quality's going to play out. But when a once-a-year race is obviously once a year, and you get 6 months out from it, and you've done so many other bits and pieces in your world that you sort of lose track of what happened in the Bathurst 12 hour in early February. So I really enjoy going back and rewatching the race and understanding, getting back into the groove of the race, so that when you roll out for practice one, you're back in that zone from where you were when you left it 12 months ago. But outside of that, it's just making sure you've boned up on the international drivers that come down, and some of them and some of them we've got relationships with that we're now mates with or colleagues, but there's new guys every year, so it's about making sure you're prepped and understood, who's Bastian Boost when he's at home, and what does he do, what's his background, or tell us a story about Anders Fjordbach, who's coming with the high-class racing Porsche team. So, it's just making sure you're up to speed about that. So if Garth Tander midway through the race goes, so Craill, tell us about high-class racing, you can fire off and sound relatively informed.
So what you need to do is ask Garth at some point, so tell us about high-class racing.
Yes.
If he tries to stitch you up, you can always return serve. Don't worry about that. That's
exactly
doable.
Right. Just because he's won 6 Bathursts doesn't mean he gets a free pass in the combox. You're right.
How do you go for your caffeine intake strategy? Obviously, early race start, early on air time, early get up time to get to the track. How many coffees in a day?
Yep. So, and you did ask about the other reverse pit stop strategy as well, which I will come to. So I have a little pre-race tradition, Noons, which I've now done for, I reckon, 10 years. And a great mate of yours and mine, and I think we could say friend of the show, Andrew Hall, who's one of the best photographers the sport has, but also one of
great people.
The greatest human beings.
Skippy,
Andrew,
to those who know him overseas.
Correct. Andrew brings his little Nespresso style coffee machine to the race every year because it is a race fueled by caffeine. Mm-hmm. So I will go and see Skippy in the media centre when I get to the track, which is generally 4:30 a.m. on Sunday. I'll get myself a shot of espresso, and I'll wander out to the podium, and I'll just sit on the podium for 5 minutes and have my little espresso. Just me. Below, the lights are on, the pit lane garages. There's the sound of teams prepping cars, the occasional air gun or, air jacks being released and people chatting away. There's a real sort of lull. It's sort of quiet energy that time of the morning. And I just go and have 5 minutes with an espresso and just soak in the pre-dawn vibes at Mount Panorama. And I love that little moment. It's really cool. Then generally, the great Brian Ingerson, who in Supercars Media, part of the TV production, brilliant producer, incredible person. About an hour into the race, she'll do a coffee run for us, which will be great. And then it's a double shot flat white, and I'll go from there. And that's the coffee intake for the day, generally.
Just one big one to get you going.
Yeah, a little heart starter first thing before the start.
Kick.
Yep, and then a proper full size double shot or extra shot flat white at about 6:30.
So is this really, though, being limited because then if the more you put in, the more has to come out?
This is true. It is a thing, and I will generally now, and as I get older, Noons, and this could be an entirely other podcast that's probably not the market we're aiming at here, but as I've got older, I found I've needed to take more pit stops over the course of the Bathurst 12 hour, which I understand comes with age.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
I can confirm. Confirm.
Don't like it. Not great. Used to be able to go the whole way through. Can't anymore. Fortunately, where we call from, run outside Tower 3, very conveniently located facilities there. But what I found is that when you take a little strategic pit stop mid-race, try and do it during a safety car.
True.
So, teams want to pit under yellow. I like to pit under yellow as well.
Fair play.
But do you know what it is good for? Just stick your head outside, get a bit of vibe, get a bit of atmosphere, but more importantly, get a bit of weather.
I was about to say weather check.
Yeah. So 2020, stuck my head out with about 3.5 hours to go and went, oh, this is different. But the atmosphere had changed, and that was when those storms were starting to roll over, and ultimately it didn't rain until the very end and the checkered flag had flown. But so I'd like to believe, in my mind, Noons, that it's actually part of the job is you just stick your head out, soak it in, get a bit of the atmosphere so you can go back in and you can communicate that when you're talking about the race. But also sometimes you just need to take a little pit stop.
When you've got to go,
you've got to go.
Speaking of TV, this year, for those who are going to be looking for the coverage, it's an exclusive Fox KO event this year. There's not Channel 7 free-to-air coverage that we've had in previous years at the same stage. So if you don't have it, you can get a KO subscription. You can get I'm not on the take with KO here, by the way, but surely there's a trial or something you can do to get yourself in there and get yourself up and going.
Well, what I can actually tell you is, and this is with my event cap on, so forgive the PR, but so it is on Fox and KO. It'll be ad break free, flag to flag. So I don't know.
That's not good when you need to make a pit stop.
It's not. I don't know of another sporting event in Australia where there's 12 hours of no ad break TV. Test match. This is ad at the end of. Well, to be fair, on Fox and KO, they don't do ads at the end of every over, but they do lunch break, tea break, things like that. 12.5 hour broadcast, by the way, on Sunday, which is a big day at the office. And what a way to start the sporting year. They do have a special offer going on, Noons, for 12-hour fans, and the offer opens basically as you listen to this podcast. So there's a code. You can get the code on the Bathurst 12-hour website, and you'll get a 2-month deal for KO Premium for $5 a month.
Oh,
so
nice.
If there's ever an opportunity to sign up, and I'm going to appreciate that people will miss the free-to-air component. Let's be real about that. That's fine. But $10, it's less than 2 of the flat whites I have at about 6:30 in the morning on race day to get 2 months of KO Premium. So you get the opening round of supercars, you get the Australian Grand Prix, all of that on it as well. So, it's all the details of that on the Bathurst 12-hour or KO website. So good deal, but it's going to be a good broadcast. Can't wait to be part of it again. It's pretty special.
I didn't even know that there was a deal on KO, by the way, when I walked into that then. So anyone who
No,
thinks
you
that we're in
didn't.
cahoots or on the deal, I had no idea. So
and we
good
didn't
to
even
know.
talk about it beforehand. So yes.
No, that's the level of prep we did for this pod. We just thought, well, you know what, let's just have a catch up
car racing,
and let everybody listen to our catch up. Yeah, correct. So TV lineup, who's back? Anyone new, anyone different, or is it our familiar
consistency?
voices and faces?
We've gone for consistency in 12-hour land this year. So same squad, myself, John Hondoff back, Garth Tander back in the box. He's done a super job over the last couple of years in that race in the box, which is outstanding. And after his little debut, where old GT might have gone a little bit too hard too early and knocked the voice out a little bit, but
he did.
He's got that strategy right now. He's good to go for the.
He learned the lesson. He's learned the rookie lesson.
Correct. And then of course, Chad and Shay Adam in pit lane will do an awesome job. Chad will be driving the bunker. We've yet to come up. So the last couple of years, we've thrown in a few little side quests, I suppose you call it, during the race. So last year we ranked our top 5 Bathurst 12-hour drivers of all time. And
Yes.
Garth and I nearly punched on over whether it was Matt Campbell or Jules Gounon. I argued for the Aussie because, patriotism, and he argued for
Straya.
Yeah, and he argued for Jules Gounon because he's a race car driver, which is fine.
Yeah, fair play.
So we haven't actually decided what we're going to do. As I talk to you, we haven't decided what we're going to do this year. So if you're listening to the pod and you've got an idea, jump in the comments. I'll keep an eye on them. And, up until literally 5 a.m. Sunday morning, we might be looking for something, a little challenge that the commentary team can get around during the quieter moments.
A conundrum, a bit of a
or
top
a
5 of a certain ranking system of
favorite
something.
GT3 car, make an argument for that.
Best one-off 12-hour cars,
that's good. Yeah.
One-off. Oh, you know what? Here's one. May I offer one?
Please.
The best. Maybe give us the top 5 of the one-off gurus to come to the 12-hour. There's been a lot of great drivers in the 12-hour over the years, but who are the ones that only came once? They might be really big names. They might be someone really famous, someone really well known that we have. Like, here's one. May I nominate one?
Go.
Scott Dixon.
Oh, yes, Sir Scott
Dixon. 5 drivers you forgot drove in the Bathurst 12-hour. There you go.
That's
job
pretty
done.
Good.
You don't need to wait till 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. I've just done it for you.
That's pretty good. It sounds like that's a story that might roll out on V8Sleuth.com before we get there, though. That's a good yarn.
Never do that to you. Wouldn't do that to you.
That's a good yarn. I would encourage it. No, that's there. Sir Scott Dixon.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Sir Scott. I forgot about
Dixon.
that.
Yeah,
he is
Knight of the Realm.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
Put on the list.
That's a good one. The other one I was thinking of, Noons, while we're workshopping this on our podcast here, the Sterling Moss Award for the best driver to win the Bathurst 12-hour.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You need to have, though, a minimum. You need to have done a minimum X number of starts to qualify. You can't be just a one-offy. Scott Dixon's the best ever. Well, he hasn't been a regular trying to win. So,
correct.
No, good point. I think we've got 2 there that will keep you all punching on the commentary box pretty heavily. Actually.
Yeah. Like, who gets Maro Engel in that discussion? Who makes the case? I would be pushing reasonably hard to get hold of Maro in making that argument, given his track record. But okay. We'll workshop that. But if you've got ideas, fans, if you're listening, by all means, let us know. This is a very democratic race, the Bathurst 12-hour. We want everybody to get involved. So let us know. I'd love to know.
Just put your answers on the back of a postcard.
Correct.
And send it to Mr. R. Craill of Liddock, South Australia. Actually, no, he won't be there.
Send them.
He'll be about Reckless Brewing care of. That's probably where they need to go.
Well, I've genuinely had mail sent to me, Richard Craill, care of the Media Centre, Pitt Straight, Mount Panorama. So that will get to me. Otherwise, just
it'll
DM
work.
me. It's slide into my DMs. It's fine.
We know where to find you. The official Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour program is available at the track.
It's a good read, Nate.
It's a good read. We've had a good team put it together this year. But if you're going to go to the track, don't pre-order or don't order it online because it won't get to you in time for the event. So there is stock at the track. There is stock at the National Motor Racing Museum as well. It's a real keepsake of the 12-hour. It's the tradition. It's the vibe. It's the Constitution. It's all that stuff. You've got to get one. It's got the entry list in it. It's got all the schedules. It's got features on a bunch of elements around the GT cars and the 12-hour race and the stars and the cars of the show, which is going to be really exciting. I think now we've gone from annual podcast to traditional podcast. What would the 4th Bathurst 12-hour preview podcast of next year be? We've got a year to think about it, but does it count as something higher and better now?
Well, I think tradition, you just need to settle into tradition for a couple of years.
Okay, couple of years, just in the rhythm.
And then I think we get to legendary.
Oh, wow. That's steady on there, Rich.
Well,
that brings pressure and expectation.
It does, which is why I think a couple of years of tradition, then legend status down the road.
And icon somewhere after that.
Yeah, 100%. So sort of 2030, I reckon it becomes legendary.
Nice round number.
Doing it. Yeah, let's go then.
Richard, thank you for joining me on our annual traditional, legendary, iconic podcast.
I love it.
Previewing the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour. We will see you at the mountain. For those who are listening who are going to be there, come and say g'day. For those who are not, there's a deal on KO. I did know about it beforehand, but there is a deal that head to the Bathurst 12-hour website and check that out as well. you enjoy yourself. Get yourself ready with those coffees for what's going to be a big day on the mountain. And I'm not sure if there'll be a 9-time Formula One Grand Prix winner standing by ready to fill in for an hour, so you better press on for the day.
That's a good clue, by the way, to trivia question number 20. But no, I'll be locked in for the day. Can't wait, Noons. Thank you. I love our traditional annual legendary podcast and look forward to it every year. And yeah, come and say good day at the race.
Yeah, I will. Hello, Richard. My name's Aaron. Great to meet you. I've seen you on my TV in recent times. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. V8 Sleuth Podcast, Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour preview. It's in the can. We'll see you at the mountain for what is going to be another ripper for the iconic Australian International Enduro. See you there. Bye for now.